series, contributing editor of the National Catholic magazine American, Jesuit priest Father James Martin, and in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, former Pentecostal minister, now atheist Jerry DeWitt. He's the author of the new book, Hope After Faith. Thomas Roberts and Lee Gallagher are back at the table as well. And as fascinating as all of us seem to be to ourselves and others, there's nobody more fascinating than somebody who writes a book just as a grabber, an ex-pastor's journey from belief to atheism, hope after faith. First of all, Jerry, gosh, got so many questions to ask you. First of all, why did you write the book?
I wrote the book to tell my story. I think it's a story that a lot of people are living through, and I think they needed the support by hearing there were other people out in the world just like themselves. And thank you for calling me fascinating. I think that's a first.
Well, fascinating, you know, it beats what I'm sure a lot of other people have been calling you. So tell me about the leap from faith to what I would believe would be hopelessness, but you say there's hope after faith. Talk about that jump. Was there a triggering event, or did it occur over time?
No, Joe. Oh, I wish it was a triggering event, but then we wouldn't have 270 pages worth of a book to write or 25 years worth of a story to tell. It was actually 25 years of life-changing experiences and following thoughts where they led. I'll be honest with you. It was love all the way through. Love for humanity, love for God, love for truth. All those things are what brought me to where I'm at today.
Do you still have love for those who were your parishioners? Do you still have respect? Do you still have respect?
Yes.
And I have to ask this question because there have been so many books that have been out that atheists have written that have just been openly hostile and contemptuous of those of us who still believe that Jesus is the Son of God and believe what the Bible says.
Yeah, no, I don't have any contempt. I honestly don't have any contempt for anyone. Whenever I say that I'm a lover and not a fighter, I'm not exaggerating. I stopped growing at 5'5". I learned how important it was to get along, and I started off life apparently as a humanist and didn't know it.
Yeah, how long were you in the pulpit possessing those doubts?
Yeah, possessing the doubts. You know, at age 17, when it became my responsibility to preach hell and eternal punishment and all of the people who the Bible says will go there, I started having doubts about hell, and that doubt spread to the next and then the next. So over 25 years, I was always, you know, very concerned about some part of theology, but it wasn't until just the last couple of years that it solidified into, it actually crossed the barrier and got into my relationship with God.
And when was the moment that you said, you know what, I can no longer tell people that I believe in God. I can no longer continue preaching. I just don't believe this anymore.
Yeah. It was the worst moment of my life because, as I've already mentioned, I loved everybody so much, and they loved me so much, and I respected them so much. I had a friend who called for prayer one night, and I realized that I was not going to be able to pray for her without feeling as if I was misleading her, and also without feeling like I was going to set her up for her own doubts. And I wasn't enjoying doubting. I wasn't enjoying it at all, and I didn't wish that upon her. So it was one particular night just a couple of years ago.
Father, there is so much. I go a lot of times when I'm in town to Redeemer and listen to Tim Keller, and Tim basically preaches to the doubters. And he says we live in a very cynical age. What would you say for others out there that are listening to Jerry and struggling with their own doubts?
Well, I think first of all to respect his path. That's his path. It's not my path in particular. But I think also to recognize that doubt is a natural part of faith. It's a part of being human. You know, we had someone like Doubting Thomas, with a lot of the disciples early on doubted Jesus, even when Jesus was in front of them. So I think for the believer, I would say that your doubt doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give up your faith. But like I said, I respect his path, and, you know, in terms of loving people, a lot of my best friends, to coin a phrase, are atheists and agnostics. So it's not my path, but I think it's also respected.
You also find, though, too, when you don't shy away from the faith, when you don't shy away from the doubts, when you don't fear the doubts, when you stare the doubts, when you look straight into the abyss and you come out on the other side, you come out, actually, if you do come out on the other side still in faith, with a stronger faith because you dared to ask the tough question.
Absolutely. It's part of being in an honest relationship with God to sort of admit those doubts, and also to say to yourself, you know, I might have to believe in a God that I don't fully understand, right? I don't need to sort of comprehend in totality, you know, God's being, because that's beyond me.
Yeah. Thomas?
Well, I was going to say, I'm a doubting Thomas in the respect that I do believe in God, but I only doubt those that are on the front end of religion and organized religion, because of a muddled mess.
That actually puts you right in good company with Jesus. Who actually had the most problem with the religious leaders of his day.
I think spirituality is certainly very important. So, Jerry, I wanted to ask you, because there is certainly in religious messaging, certainly an enhancement that comes for so many people in believing in God, a higher power, and faith. Where do you stand on spirituality?
Yeah, well, obviously it does work for some people. Some people find a lot of comfort and a lot of meaning. I happen to believe at this point that supernaturalism is just an extra layer added on top of humanistic values that we do find very comfortable. I think the universe is marvelous. Life is a very, very special gift that we're all enjoying, and that the human species has great things to accomplish and great power to accomplish it with. So if you want to call that spirituality, then I'm still a very spiritual person.
Jerry, you write about how you were shunned from your community. Can you tell us about that a little bit? I mean, and what impact that had on you, even as you were kind of going through this process?
Sure, I appreciate you asking it, and that's really the point of the story. I was a horrible Christian evangelist. I consider myself more a pastor, so I'm not out evangelizing the world for atheism necessarily. I'm trying to meet people where they're at, and, you know, it's unfortunate.